Okay, deep divers. Buckle up because today we're diving headfirst into the world of Forex.
Forex, always an exciting one.
It is, and we're tackling a term that's, well, let's be honest, it's a bit of a tongue twister. We're talking about pip value.
Ah, pip value, the cornerstone of Forex trading, right?
Exactly. And you know us, we're all about breaking down these financial mysteries, so we've got some really great excerpts from IG International.
They always explain things clearly.
They do. So whether you're a seasoned trader or just starting out, this deep dive is for you. Ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of pip value, let's make sure we're all on the same page about what a pip is. Think of it like the tiniest little shift you can have in an exchange rate.
Right, those tiny little movements.
Yeah, we're talking like the fourth decimal place. For example, if the GBP USD pair, so that's the British pound against the US dollar, if that moves from, say, 1.2345 to 1.2346, boom, that's a single pip.
And don't let that tiny change fool you.
Definitely not.
Those pips, those little pips, they're how wins and losses are measured in Forex trading.
They are the name of the game.
It's like, imagine baking a cake, right? You wouldn't think a tiny pinch of salt would matter that much.
You need that little bit, though.
You do, you leave it out. Disaster. It's the same idea with pips, those seemingly insignificant amounts, well, they can make or break your Forex trades. They're essential.
So we're talking about these tiny little pips and how they actually make a big difference in the Forex market.
They really do, and that brings us to pip value. It's a crucial concept to understand.
Okay, so break it down for me. What makes this pip value so important?
Essentially, it tells you how much money each pip is worth in a given trade. You see, it's not just about the movement, but what that movement represents in your account.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection here, but then there's this whole other layer of leverage, right? That's where things get kind of wild.
Leverage, yeah, can be a powerful tool, but like any tool, you got to know how to use it. Think of it like this. Imagine you're buying a house.
A big purchase.
Exactly. Now, most people don't have that kind of cash just lying around, so what do? They get a mortgage, right?
Right, they borrow money to make the purchase.
Exactly. And in essence, that's what leverage is in Forex. You're borrowing a larger amount to control a bigger position in the market.
So you're basically amplifying your buying power, even with a smaller amount of money.
Precisely. But just like with a mortgage, there's that element of risk.
Right, because if you're amplifying your buying power, you're also amplifying potential losses if things go south.
Exactly. And that's why understanding pip value is so crucial, especially when you're using leverage. It helps you weigh the potential profits against the risks involved in each trade.
So it's like knowing the limits, playing it smart. But let me ask you this, do traders actually have to calculate all of this manually every time they make a trade? Because it sounds a bit complicated.
You know, that's a question a lot of people have, and honestly, it used to be much more complex. But thankfully, technology has come a long way. Most trading platforms these days actually calculate pip value for you automatically.
Oh, so it's like having a built-in calculator. That's pretty handy.
It is. But, and this is important, even though the platform does the math for you, you still need to understand what it represents, what those numbers mean in the grand scheme of your trading strategy.
Right, because just because you have a fancy calculator doesn't mean you understand the principles behind the calculations. You still need that knowledge base.
Exactly. It's about making informed decisions, not just relying blindly on technology, even if it is pretty cool. Now, speaking of calculations, if you're curious about the formula itself, it's actually quite straightforward.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, talked about what pip value is, why it matters, especially with leverage.
Right, it's all connected.
It is, but for someone who's, say, just starting out in Forex,
Yeah.
what's the key takeaway here? How does knowing about pip value actually translate into, making smarter trades?
Well, it all comes down to risk management, really. Think
Yeah.
about it. If you're placing a trade without really understanding pip value, it's like, well,
Taking a shot in the dark.
exactly. You're essentially flying blind. You could be risking way more than you're comfortable with on a single trade. But when you do understand pip value, when you know how those tiny pips translate into potential profits and losses, well, then you can make much more informed decisions.
So it's about having that awareness, knowing what's at stake with each move.
Precisely. Understanding pip value helps you manage your risk. You can figure out how much you're comfortable risking on a trade, set your stop-loss orders to limit potential losses, even determine your position size based on your risk tolerance.
Right, so it's like having a plan, a strategy, instead of just, winging it.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, especially in Forex.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, any final words of wisdom for our listeners as they navigate the world of Forex?
Hmm. Well, we've talked a lot about the technical side of things, the numbers and calculations, but, there's a whole psychological aspect to trading that's often overlooked.
Oh, definitely. It's not just about the math, it's about how you handle the ups and downs.
Right. And those tiny pip movements, even though we know logically they're small changes, they can trigger some pretty big emotional responses.
Oh, tell me about it. 1 minute you're up, the next you're down. It's a roller coaster.
It really is. So, as you're learning about pip value and Forex trading, pay attention to how those market fluctuations make you feel.
Interesting. It's like being mindful of your emotions while you're trading.
Exactly. Understanding the psychological impact of those small changes can be just as important as the technical knowledge when it comes to making sound trading decisions.
That's a really great point. It's a good reminder that Forex, like many things in life, is as much about managing ourselves as it is about managing our money.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, there you have it, deep divers. Pip value demystified. We've broken it down, explored its importance, and hopefully equipped you with the knowledge to navigate the exciting world of Forex with a little more confidence. Until next time, happy trading.